cryptography techniques. So there are various techniques that have been discussed already. In addition to that, I am going to discuss about security services today. So the main concern about security services is that I can say what is the objective of learning security services, so that we can learn some security mechanism in the end of the lecture. And in addition, the outcome could be we are supposed to maintain the integrity of the data. And in addition, we are supposed to maintain the security of the data. So what is security service basically? It could enhance, like I am using some kind of security services. Why we are using security services? So that because network cryptography deals with cryptographic functions, mean to say I am supposed to transfer some data, I am supposed to retain data, I am supposed to maintain the data, and in addition I am concerned with various steps to maintain the integrity of the data, to maintain the consistency of the data, to maintain the security of the data. Now every technology works on data. Every technology works on data. In order to protect the same, there are certain measures that could be used. There are certain mechanisms that could be applied. Because in today's era, every human being is concerned with huge data. He is having mobile phone, he is having laptop, because these things are generally normal nowadays. In addition, he is having number of social accounts, social media accounts. In addition, he could be having number of personal accounts. It could be related to banking transactions. In addition, he is having business accounts. So there are certain number of accounts that are available, and that accounts need certain amount of information or certain amount of data, and that information is to be protected by some means. So it could not be freely available. For example, if I am talking about internet, huge data, internet is a collection of huge data. So there could be some mechanism that could be applied here. Why we are using HTTPS instead of HTTP? So that we are operating in the secure environment, because there are some sites that seems to us that seems to the internet that they are malicious sites. So they prevent us from opening the same site over the internet. So what is that? That is the security measure that has been applied to the same. It could be any website that I want to open, but that is having some malicious content. So that is why I am unable to open the same, or there could be a warning that could be given to me constantly, so that I could be aware about opening that, so that I could open that it on my own risk, because it could make changes to my system. So that is why there are certain security measures that are there. So what is basically security service? So now we are going to start with the security service. So it could enhance the security of the data processing system and information transfers of an organization. Again, I am saying it is concerned with the information transmission of a system that is transmitted in an organization, and there could be certain data processing techniques that could be used. Now, how to process the data? It could be in the form of text, it could be in the form of speech, it could be in the form of symbols. So it depends on the underlying medium which I am using. So same is the case. It could enhance the security of the system and information that transfers of an organization. So next is, it is intended to counter security attacks. Obviously, if I am having huge amount of crucial data that is crucial to any organization, then it could be subjected to various attacks that could be applied. So using one or more security mechanism, we can use various security mechanisms. How that could be used? We can often replicate functions normally associated with physical documents. So what are those? For example, we could have signatures, yes, dates, need protection from disclosure, by putting seals over the information that is to be transmitted. Tampering, it could not be tampered. If the data is tampered, the receiver could not receive the information, or any kind of destruction that could be applied to the same. So it could be witnessed, it could be recorded, it could be licensed. So there are various security services that are being provided. So what are those? X.800 certificate or RFC 2828. So what is X.800 certificate? It is a service provided by a protocol layer of communicating open systems. It could ensure adequate security of the system or of the data transfer. Next is RFC 2828, that is a processing or a communication service provided by a system to give a specific kind of protection to system resources. So next is what are the main points of concern regarding security services, basically X.800. The first one is authentication, mean to say we can assure that the communicating entity is the one that is being claimed. Second is access control. So what is access control? Why we have applied access control here? Because so that no unauthorized user could not access the information. So prevention of the unauthorized use of the resource. Third is data confidentiality, that is protection of data from unauthorized disclosure. Next is data integrity, that is assurance that data received is as sent by the authorized entity. Next is non-repudiation, that is protection against denial by one of the parties in a communication. Next is the security mechanism that we are supposed to use. What could be the security mechanism? It could be any cryptographic algorithm that we are going to use, or it could be any cryptographic technique that we are going to use. It could depend on the requirement, what type of cryptographic technique is required. It could be classical, it could be traditional. So it could depend on block, it could require stream cipher, it could require block cipher. So mostly block cipher techniques are being used nowadays. So feature designed to detect, prevent or recover from a security attack. It is a feature that is designed to detect, prevent or recover from a security attack. So no single mechanism that will support all services required. However, one particular element underlies many of the security mechanism in use, for example, any cryptographic techniques. So hence our focus on this topic is that is cryptographic techniques. So in addition, there are various major points of concerns regarding security mechanism X.800. So what are those? That is specific security mechanism and pervasive security mechanism. So what is specific security mechanism? That is to encipher digital signature, access control, data integrity, authentication exchange, traffic padding, routing control, and notarization. So these are all the terms that have been already discussed one by one in the previous lectures. Encipherment, digital signatures, access control, digital signature concept was discussed in math. Access control are daily, it is the part of my daily routine that I am supposed to discuss about access control, data integrity, authentication exchange, traffic padding, routing control, and notarization. Next is pervasive security mechanism. It could be trusted functionality that could be used, security labels could be used, event detection measures could be used, event audit trials could be there, and security recovery mechanism could be used. So these are the models for the network security. Have a look at the same. Trusted third party. This is the opponent that wants to hack the information. it could be a message that is concerned with the sender, and sender is sending some kind of message, and security related transformation is being there because it is a message is a secret information. So secure message could be sent, and it could be attacked by any opponent, and there is an information channel that is being used, and secure message is being sent to the recipient. So it is receiving the secure message. Security related transformation is happening here, and in the end it is receiving the secure message. Even after the opponent is there, that is third party is there, but it is a trusted third party who is a distributor of the secret information. So in this way, opponent could attack at the system, and I can put trusted third party here. But what is the work of the third party? If message is to be exchanged between two parties, then it could be easily exchanged. But we know there are always some violators that are wandering in between, and they want to have a control over the information that is being sent, or they want to see the messages that are being sent, and they want to modify the messages even. No, so model for the network security, what are the main concerns regarding the same? That is, we can use this model that require us to do various things. It could be to design a suitable algorithm for the security transformation, generate the secret information keys that are used by the algorithm. We can develop methods to distribute and share the secret information. We can specify a protocol that could enable the principals to use the transformation and secret information for our security service. So this is the model for the network access security. So this could be opponent. Opponent could be in the form of attack. Opponent could be in the form of virus. Opponent could be in the form of cracker, that is human. So this is the access channel from which he wants to have a control. This is the gatekeeper function. Either he could allow the traffic or he could block the traffic. So this is basically the information system. So information system consists of various computing resources. It could be processor, it could be memory, it could be input-output devices. Huge amount of data is residing here. There are a lot of processes that are being happening here. Software is residing here. Internal security controls that are being provided to whole lot of information that is here. Or I can say information system is secure with the help of some internal security measures. That is why gatekeeper function is there. So what is the function of gatekeeper? It could allow only valid users to enter the information system, and it could block the unauthorized users. So model for the network access authority. So using this model, it requires us to do various things. That is, we are supposed to select appropriate gatekeeper functions to identify the users, implement the security controls to ensure only authorized users access designated information or resources. That is, trusted computer systems may be useful to help implement this model. That is why we can allow that traffic into the that could be allowed by the gatekeeper, trusted computer system. So if you are having any query till now, you can ask me any question. I have talked about security mechanism, what is security service, what is the security model. So if you are having any question, you can ask me. Now, if I want to add more to the security services, Then a range of cryptographic and non-cryptographic tools that could be used to support various services. That is, while a single cryptographic mechanism could provide more than one service, it cannot provide all services. That is also the case in general. One person could not teach all the subjects. One teacher could not teach all the subjects of the computer science. It could be limited to 2 subjects, it could be limited to 3 subjects, but not all the subjects, because there are 46 subjects in, or I can say 40 subjects in computer science. Every teacher is the master of 2 to 3 subjects. Same is the case that is applied to any technique that we are going to use. So first is confidentiality, as we have already discussed. So we are now discussing that term in detail. So when preventing disclosure of the information to unauthorized parties, but that is needed, the property of confidentiality is required. Property of confidentiality, it is required. Now cryptography is used to encrypt the information to make it unintelligible to everyone, but those who are authorized to view it. So to provide confidentiality, the cryptographic algorithm and mode of operation needs to be designed and implemented in such a way that unauthorized party will be unable to determine the keys that have been associated with the encryption or have the ability to derive the information without using the correct keys. Next is the main concern, that is data integrity. So it could provide assurance that the data has not been modified in an unauthorized manner after it was created, transmitted, or stored. So this means that there has been no insertion, deletion, or substitution that is done with the data. So digital signature or message authentication codes are cryptographic mechanisms that can be used to detect both accidental modifications that might occur because of the hardware failure or transmission issues and deliberate modifications that might be performed by an adversary. So while non-cryptographic mechanisms can be used to detect accidental modifications, they are not reliable for detecting deliberate modification. So what is the conclusion about data integrity? Let's say if I am supposed to perform some kind of transaction, then there are certain 3 steps that are associated with that transaction. So I am sending those 3 steps to the receiver in the 1, 2, 3 form, that is indexing is already done. So if the receiver is receiving that transaction methods in the same manner as they are being originated from the sender, then it means that the integrity of the data is achieved. Otherwise, some violations have taken place in between and they could have reversed the order of the indexing. Third step could be above and there could be a modification in the second step, and in the middle there is a 1 step with little modification. So this way the integrity is violated. Next is authentication. Now cryptography can provide various types of authentication services. So there are 2 types of basically authentication services that we are supposed to discuss. First is integrity authentication. It can be used to verify that non-modification has occurred to the data. As I told you earlier, that there could not be any modification that could be taking place in between while the data is transmitted over the network. So second is source authentication, can be used to verify the identity of who created the information, such as the user or the system. So source authentication can be used. So digital signatures or message authentication codes that are used most often to provide authentication services, and key agreement techniques might also be used to provide this service. Next is authorization. Next is authorization. So what is basically authorization? Authorization provides permission to perform a security function or activity. So the security service is often supported by a cryptographic service. Authorization is generally granted after the successful execution of a source authentication service. Now, if you are having any query regarding same, you can ask me. I am just discussing these points in detail. So next is non-repudiation. So what is basically non-repudiation? Because in key management, the term non-repudiation refers to the binding of the certificate subject through the use of digital signature keys and digital certificates to a public key. So when non-repudiation is required for a digital signature key, it means that the signature that has been created by that key has the support of both integrity and source authentication. So services of the digital signature. So the digital signature may also indicate a commitment by the way of creating a certificate subject in the same manner that a document with a handwritten signature would. However, here are many aspects to be considered in making a legal decision regarding non-repudiation, and cryptographic mechanism is considered only one element to be used in that decision. So next is support services. So what are basically support services that are being provided in the security mechanism? Support services mean to say they are required for basic cryptographic security services. For example, like cryptographic service will often require services for key establishment and random number generation, as well as protection of the cryptographic keys themselves. So next is combining services. So combining like all the services that have been discussed so far. So the combination of the above 6 security services is strongly advised. It means to say when designing a secure system, designers usually begin by determining which security systems are required to protect the information that will be contained and processed by the system. So once the services has been determined, the mechanism that will best provide these services are considered. But some of the mechanisms chosen might not be cryptographic in nature. For example, physical security measures such as identification badges, biometric identification. Devices may be used to limit access to certain data for confidentiality purposes. However, cryptographic mechanisms that include algorithms, keys, or other key material are generally the most cost-effective methods for keeping the information secure. Next is how to manage the keys by the use of the security service. So the correct management of the cryptographic keys is essential to the level of security which might be achieved in the system through cryptography. So this achievable security depends on various factors such as the architecture of the cryptographic system or the applied mix of mechanisms and their intrinsic robustness against attacks. So what is the relation between the security level of a system, cryptographic keys, and the cryptographic mechanism? Simply put, all encrypted information in a system that is protected by cryptographic keys. So this protection remains operational as long as the cryptographic keys have not been compromised. So in other words, to protect the basic security services that are provided by the cryptography, we are supposed to, or I can say we need everything necessary to ensure that the protective mechanisms for managing the keys securely do not fail. So this was about the security services that have been discussed so far. If you are having any question, you can ask me. Next, moving to the model. That is used for the network access security. So this is the model that is being used. Now coming to this model. What is the theory behind this model? That is, it is a model for network security access in which this is the information system that is being secured with the internal security measures or internal security controls. And in information system, it is consist of computing resources, and computing resources are further associated with processor, memory, input-output devices. So in addition, they could be associated with huge amount of data that is to be protected, because if I am talking about information system, then it could contain huge amount of data. Various processes that are involved here in order to process the data. Next, various softwares that are being used. So there is a security mechanism that is being used, that is a gatekeeper function. So what is the function of gatekeeper? If you remember firewall. So firewall is a term that is being used, either it could allow the gate, it is working as a gatekeeper. It could allow the traffic inside the gate, or it could block the traffic outside. So what does that mean? Authorized users could enter this information system, and unauthorized users could not enter this information system. So this is the access channel through which they can have a control over the information by going through this gatekeeper function. So what is the opponent? What is the function of the opponent here? Opponent could be any human, that is a cracker. It could be any software, for example, virus, worm, that could be there. So this is the whole process of the model for the network security access. If you are having any question regarding same, you can ask me. So did you notice what is the function of the network access control? As the name implies, network access control mean to say only authorized users will be allowed, and unauthorized users will not be allowed to have a control over the information system. So network access control, it is the act of keeping unauthorized users and devices out of the private network. So organizations that give certain devices or users from outside of the organization occasional access to the network can use network access control to ensure that these devices meet corporate security compliance regulations. So this is a must. So next is the main point of concern regarding network access control. That is, it is the one aspect of the network security. Mean to say there are many network access controls that were available. That is tools that are available. And the function are often performed by a network access server. So effective network access control restrict access to only those devices that are authorized, and they can follow with the security policies, meaning that they have all the required security patches and anti-intrusion software. So network operators define the security policies that decide which devices or applications comply with endpoint security requirements and will be allowed network access. So coming to the main question, that is, what are the advantages of network access control? What are the advantages of network access control? So one major advantage of network access control is that users can be required to authenticate via multi-factor authentication, which is much more secure than identifying users based on IP addresses or username and password combinations. In addition, secure network access control also provide additional levels of protection around individual parts of the network after a user has gained access. So it could ensure application security, and some network access control solutions may include compatible security controls, for example, encryption and increased network visibility. Next is, what are the common use cases for network access control? What are the common use cases for network access control? So if an organization security policy allow any of the following circumstances, then they need to think carefully about network access control to ensure organization security. So first one could be, bring your own device. So what is the main point of concern? That is, bring your own device. That is, any organization that allows employees to use their own devices or take corporate devices home needs to think beyond the firewall to ensure that network security. So each device creates a vulnerability, or I can say it is creating a risk that could make it possible for cyber criminals to get around traditional security controls. So next is network access for non-employees. So some organizations need to grant access to people or devices that are outside the organization and are not subject to the same security controls. They could be vendors, they could be visitors, they could be contractors. They may all need access to the corporate network from the time to time, but not to all parts of the network and not every day. Use of IoT devices, that is, the Internet of Things has given rise to a proliferation of devices that may fly under the radar of traditional security controls, often residing outside of the physical organization building, but they are still connected to the organization network. So cyber criminals can easily exploit these overlooked devices to find their way into the heart of the network without adequate network access control. And network access control is an important aspect of edge security solutions. So these are the main common use cases for a network access control. If you are having any queries, you can ask me any question. I am giving you a time of 1 minute. Have a look at all the slides that have been discussed so far. So next we are going to discuss about what would be the capabilities of network access control. What are the capabilities of network access control? So if I am talking about the capabilities of network access control, then there is one important function of network access control, that is limiting network access to both specific users and specific areas of the network. So a visitor may be able to connect to the corporate network but not access any internal resources. So this type of security control would have helped Target avoid the 2013 attack when the hackers gained access to a third-party vendor's network and attacked Target when the vendor connected to its network. So next main thing is network access control can also prevent unauthorized access to data by employees by using a gatekeeper function. So in this way, an employee that needs to access the organization intranet still would not get access to sensitive customer data unless their role warrants it and they have been authorized for that access. In addition to limiting user access, a network access control also block accesses from endpoint devices that do not comply with organization security policies. So this ensures that a virus cannot enter the network from a device that originates from outside of the organization. So all the employee devices used for company business must adhere to the company's security policy before they are allowed to have access over the network. So this was the point that was concerned with this, that is opponent. Opponents are not allowed to enter into this system without any authorization. So they have to gain permission first in order to enter into the system. So this was the point that was concerned regarding opponent. So next, and the basically main question I can say, we have discussed a lot more about network access control. Now coming to the main point, that is what is the importance of network access control? What is the importance? Why it is important to have a network access control? So network access control will not work for every organization, and it is not compatible with some existing security controls. But for organizations that have the time and staff to properly implement network access control, it can provide a much stronger and comprehensive layer of protection around valuable or sensitive assets. So IT departments that use virtual machines as part of their data center can benefit from network access control, but only if they are vigilant about the rest of the security control. So in addition, virtualization poses special challenges for network access control because virtual servers can move around a data center, and a dynamic virtual local area network can change as the server moves. Not only can network access control for virtual machines open unintended security holes, it can make it challenging for organizations to adhere to the data audit and control standards. So this is because traditional security methods locate endpoints through their IP addresses, and virtual machines are dynamic, as we all know, and it can move from one place to another place, making them more complicated to secure. So additionally, virtual machines are also very easy and fast to spin up because it could mean that inexperienced IT admin may launch a virtual machine without all of the proper network access control in place. Yet another vulnerability occurs when virtual machines are restored from a rest state. So if new patches appeared while the server was in the rest state, they may not be applied when the machine is redeployed. An increasing number of organizations are adding application security to their network security control to ensure that everything on their network down to the application level is secure. So next is, what are the types of network access control? There are two types of network access control, that is pre-admission and post-admission. So what is pre-admission and what is post-admission? We are supposed to have a look at the interpretation of the same. So there are two basic types of network access control, and both are important aspects of network security, that is pre-admission and post-admission. So what is pre-admission? The first type of network access control is called pre-admission because it happens before access to the network is granted. So when a user or endpoint device initiate a request to access a network, a pre-admission network control evaluates. It could evaluate the access attempt and only allow entry if the device or the user making the request can prove that they are in compliance with corporate security policies and are authorized to access the network. Second is post admission. So, what is post admission? It is a network access control that happens within the network when the user or the device tries to enter a different part of the network. If the pre admission network access control fails, then the post admission network access control can restrict lateral movement within the network and limit the damage from a cyber attack. So a user or a device must re-authenticate upon each request to move to a different part of the network. So these are main types of network access control. First is pre-admission and second is post-admission. Now we have discussed a lot about network access control. Now I am giving you a summary about the network access control that I have discussed. That is what is basically access control, what is basically network access control or NAC, then what are the advantages of network access control, third what are the common use cases like bring your own device, network access for non-employees, and use of the IoT devices. Next is what are the capabilities of network access control, what would be the capabilities. So there could be important function that could be associated with the same. So next is what is the importance of network access control? It is concerned with the IT engineers and non-IT engineers as well. Next is what are the types of network access control? There are two types, that is pre-admission and next is post-admission. So this was all about network access control. So this is the opponent and this is the information system and this is the network access control. So model for the network access security could be, using this model require us to select appropriate gatekeeper functions to identify the users. In addition, we could implement security controls to ensure only authorized users access designated information or any other resources. And third is trusted computer systems may be useful to help implement this model. So this is the summary about today's lecture. That is, we have considered definitions for computer, network, internet security. We have discussed about X.800 standard. In addition, we have discussed about security attacks, various services, various mechanisms that could be used. Next is models for network access security that have been discussed today in today's class. So this was all about today's class, that is security services mechanism that have been discussed today. If you are having any query regarding same, you can ask me any question. I am giving you a time of 1 minute. Have a look at all the slides that have been discussed. Next is reference book. Reference book is by William Stallings. It could be Atul Kahate as well. You can have a look at the same book as well. Both books are available in the college library. You can get it issued from the library and have a look at the same. Next is quiz against today's lecture. So there are 10 questions that are given and you are supposed to tick any one answer. And at the end of the lecture, you are supposed to submit me the answers on my email account. So have a look at all the questions. So this was all about today's class. If you are having any query, you can ask me any question. Thank you. Have a nice day.